What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor Dark Joker, here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are Traditional Fans with Opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. One Piece episode 1133.5. So this was a special that basically recapped Kizaru, Sentomaru, and Vegapunk's history in the show, like basically their time interacting with the Straw Hats, and I guess a lot of their origins. Yeah, basically it's a recap. So as far as it is a weird placement for where they put it, I feel like that would have made more sense during like Sentomaru and Kizaru's fight. Like when they were fighting each other, I feel like that would have made more sense. Or done, you know, daring a certain like, or during a certain scene where like basically Kizaru shoots a beam into like Vegapunk's chest. That would have made sense either right before that or right after that. That would have made more sense placement. But right in the middle of the Kuma like flashback, that doesn't make much sense. But either regardless, I thought it was a fine special. That was decent. And the stuff with Chopper, Carrot, Wanda, that was fine. That was whatever. Like the Carrot was funny. Yeah, that was a decent special. Looking forward to the next actual episode. All right, so One Piece chapter 1152. So in this one, Gabon is injured, and Luffy wants Loki to be set free from his chains. Hodgson doesn't want to because what happened with Herald. Now, there's a lot about Herald that's not known, like what exactly happened. And Luffy offers to like, hey, let's make Loki a member of of my crew so that he has to be free. Hajime asks if that's really what he wants, and then Zoro and Sanji are like, no, we do not want this guy in our crew. And Loki does not want to be in Luffy's crew. And then so and now Scopper Gabon then says that someone besides Luffy has Conqueror's Haki. Sanji thinks it's him, and then you know Gabon looks at Zoro, marks that he has Conqueror's Haki. Zoro's like, wait, oh, I do. Now this is Zoro. He's kind of a retard, so it's not surprising he doesn't know he has Conqueror's Haki, even though he did use it to defeat Kane. It's not that out of the way. I mean, the guy can't keep directions even if he had a compass. So yeah, I thought this was a good you know I thought it was funny. That bit was funny. And then Gabon says he believes they should free Loki. He says that whenever Harald died, he and Shanks did sense some very powerful hockey, and that they went to see, and they don't know exactly what all happened. Basically, Loki's like condemned to death because of what happened to Harald, and so Loki had what was summoned there basically. So like he didn't want because he didn't like the fact that Harald had, I guess, sided with the world government because so Loki like was a big fan of Rox D. Zebek, and so he didn't want Elbaf to side with the world government because of the death of Zebek. So whatever. And then basically, so he and Jarl see like they see something going on with like Harald. They're like, what the heck's going on? And Loki wants Elbaf to go back to being warriors. He doesn't want a, he doesn't want like the fact that a bunch of the kids don't know how to use weapons. But since Jarul's like, this is a different time. We don't need to fight. Loki wants to go back to them to being warriors. And so, and basically, this flashback starts because Hodgkin is like, you have 3 minutes to explain what happened to Harold. Now, we as One Piece fans, we know 3 minutes could mean a very long time. I mean, we had that darn Vegapunk message last for however many chapters. Like, and that was even without the like the whole like there's the time limit, the timer going down, which that was a dumb thing. But whatever. Yeah, that's gonna drag out for a while in the anime. But anyway, so in this episode, in this chapter, basically, so it starts out with we see like something like happen with Harald and Jarul. We don't know. And there's something about the treasure of Elbath, the forbidden devil fruit. Who knows? Like who knows what actually happened? And then there's something about Shanks so there in the flashback, Shanks and Gabon are talking in this hot springs, and then Shanks says he was when he was at Mary Joa, he wanted to try talks. He met Harald. There's something he couldn't talk with him about, you know, at Mary Joa, and now that with Harald back in Elbaf, he wants to talk with him about it. So that leads to the question: what is it? Is it something with the? My guess is it's something with the human fruit bottle Nika, or as the public knows it, gum gum fruit. So, hmm, that's gonna be interesting. What was it Shanks was like? That should be explained. So that leads right. Okay, and also, what's the forbidden devil fruit? Is it that devil fruit, or is it because one possibly could be the government steals the devil fruit and Shanks has to go get it, and basically that leads to Luffy getting that leads to Luffy, of course, getting the fruit. That could be what happens. And so yeah, and it makes sense could be for because it's the Nika fruits, and Nika is like a legendary giant like figure within giant mythology. So yeah, I thought it was, and then we see a flashback to Harald as a youngster. So he became king at 45 years old, which in human years is 15. So I guess the giants age 3 times as slow as humans do. Now, I don't know if that's just with those who are 100% giant, or if this also applies to those who are like half giant, like Colin and I think Hydrogen's half giant. 'Cause I think his mother was a human. Yeah. So yeah, I mean apparently Harald in his youth was kind of a prick. Like with very much like to pillage and stuff. So yeah, interesting. It looks like that's gonna be a major flashback. I don't know if it looks like they're gonna start that, the big flashback before the major battle. Seems like a lot of these arcs have it. The big arcs have it. Like because we had, the Kozuki Odin flashback in Wano, we had the Kuma flashback, in Egghead we had multiple you had the we had the revelry the Levelly flashback before like all the stuff before like the big Garp being captured and bunch of the fight starting with with Saturn, and then we had like the Kuma flashback right before like the Saturn flashback. The Saturn fight really picked up with like everything going down. So yeah, it was like we're getting like the big flashbacks, and I don't know if this is gonna be the only one. It looks like this is the flashback that like I guess for Elbas specifically that's fans are interested in. Of course, we also have like the God Valley incident that kind of hoping to get like a flashback for in this arc, but that would require Shanks to be here and Garling. Now that one is still probably coming. I don't know if that's this arc or if that's the next arc. That could happen in Mary Joa, because that could explain why Shanks is not at at Elbaf. He could be at Mary Joa. Who knows? He could be at Mary Joa right now, or meeting with Dragon to discuss things. Because Mary Jo is under attack. Well, either it's under attack or there's like a whole civil war between the Celestial Dragons trying to fight over food, which honestly would not be surprising. So yeah, I think that I really like this chapter, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I hope to see this Elbaf flashback. I hope it's really good. News Exorcist Chapter 103. So in this one, we see Gakuro fight Iguri. You know, basically Iguri wants to like test Gakuro, and she holds back, and she beats Gakuro pretty easily. Gakuro's wearing soul armor, and she didn't even, and Iguri didn't even use her hollow weapon or her soul armor. And then basically like Iguri wins, and the news says that 3 days Gakuro will be able to beat her. And then Gakuro I guess goes through, and basically all the girls are like chasing after the kid because I guess the kid's breaking stuff, which I guess is real that the kid is technically a female, and everyone's trying to claim to be the mother. And so the little one says Dada. I guess that's like the kid's first word. And he was trying to get the baby to call like the mom, like mom or whatever. And then so after that, basically it's like I guess they have to like so Gakuro and Shiroha have to give like the kid a bath. I guess so. I guess what Gakuro and Shiroha have to do is basically they get into bathing suits and give the kid a bath. So and Shiro basically so new like I guess in disguise gives Shiroha a bikini I guess to like I guess that help move things along with her and Gakuro. Gakuro gets his swimsuit. Basically they give the kid a bath, and I guess due to a lack of room, they accidentally like I guess their feet start colliding, so like they start like playing like footsies accidentally, and then the kid like is having fun. Then the kid like starts drinking the water and drinks all the water in the pool in the bathtub. Then there's a big explosion. I think from the kid splaying out like then like so the kid like sneezes and causes a giant basically destroys a wall or something. So the bath is done because I guess there's not a bath anymore. And then the kid's trying to call her senpai saying in nice face, and she was like, "No, my name's with senpai." And then she tries to get the kid to call her like mommy or mama. And then the kid, I guess, grows up and turns to a tiny version of New. I don't know what age, probably like 13 or something. Probably middle school age. And like Gaku's like, wait, why does it look like new? Then we see Iguri talking with New, and then Iguri's asking New what the kid is because it has an aura of a heel, and so basically it has to do with the training. And so basically Iguri says that she wants New to tell her what the deal with the baby is, what's going on, and if she doesn't like it, she'll kill the kid. That's essentially what happens. So yeah, it's a funny chapter. They're trying to looks like they're at least trying to get a lot more training stuff involved with it because basically a lot of that was like just pure romance. It just got boring, and I'm just like, could we not have just fixed the romance stuff early on, or not have it at least dominate an entire arc? Yeah, this is a okay chapter. You know, let's see what happens next week with possibly what the actual purpose of the kid is. So yeah, we should see how that's like. The Elusive Samurai, chapter 208. So in this one, Tadayoshi is basically depressed from basically getting demoted. Like maybe not necessarily officially, but in practice, he's like demoted. He thought that killing Mornow would have allowed him to do all like he thought the death of the Konos would have led to him getting back in Takaji's good graces and would have, as he thought, fix it. But seems to have not done that. So this is leading into his eventual downfall, which does happen in history. Then so Gemba to is sent to basically like to like some area he lived at to like basically steal stuff. I mean he's a thief. He's part of the Elusive Warriors. So in this and then Natsu goes with him and then basically they go there and they meet so the kids that like from early on who the Elusive Warriors save like from very early on in the series like so for when Fubuki was still involved still with them basically they appear as older and then Gimba recruits them to help him I guess steal something and then he calls their group the Fox Spirit Bandits so they realize like who they're trying to steal from so they're stealing from a supply base in Ogasawara where the leader is the son of Sadamun, who has very tiny eyes. His name is Ogasawara Masanaga. He's the son of Sadamun. Like, yeah, Gimba's shocked at his tiny eyes. But so when Gimba sees it, like like his archery is worse than Sadamun's, but he is more like he's better at being a thief than he was back then, so he thinks he'll be able to win. And that's really so it's setting up a fight between Osaka Ogasawara and Gimba. That's what's about to happen next chapter. So yeah, I really like this chapter. It was a good setup. It was very Gimba centric. Gimba's a funny character. It was like bring back some old characters from really early in the series. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Kagurabachi Chapter 83. So in this one, we see Chihiro and Sombara's fight continue, and there's like flashbacks that reveal like some stuff regarding the construction of the Sanuchi, and basically, so Chihiro tells Samura that he believes there's a way to destroy the Sanuchi without like killing all the sword bearers. Samura wants to destroy Sanuchi, and that's why he wants to kill the sword bearers to stop that. So the way that, and basically, and destroying Sanuchi gets rid of the internal contracts, and so since Chihiro had previously broken the Cloud Gouger, like Chihiro believes there's a way to do that. Now, and it's revealed that so when Rokuhira, like, so when Chihiro's father made, his father Kunishige Rokuhira created the Sanuchi. Basically, they were originally intended to protect, but obviously there's a lot of war going on. So, but it's revealed that the one made after the Seitei War, the N10, which is Chihiro's, basically his has the power to destroy the other Sanuchi. So it's revealed that Kunishige's plan to destroy the Sanuchi without killing the sword bearers, so that they could prevent the malediction. The plan was to create the N10 to destroy the Sanuchi, and that's what Chihiro tells Samura. And then yeah, so who knows how Samura is going to take it? If he's still going to try to fight him, or if he'll surrender and let's see if his sword can be destroyed by the N10, or if he works with him to go after some of the more evil sword bearers in order, in order to basically the main one that killed all those people. If this way for Samura to defect back to the good side. So I'm interested in how Samura reacts to it, or if he's like, "There's no way to trust it. I'm gonna still go try to kill him." So now he could then say, "I will." Now I could see a possibility that he'll try to he could try to like just not kill Chihiro, let him see what he does, but while he's still trying to kill him, see basically who finishes first. That might be what happens. But I really like this chapter, and I'm looking forward to the next one, seeing how the fight between Sabura and Chihiro continues or concludes. Ultimate Exorcist Kiyoshi, Chapter 49. So this one we see Yuda's backstory. So when he was born with basically a high, I guess, spiritual energy or something. That drew a lot of demons towards him. So his parents were killed, and he was passed around from different relatives who had won him. So he eventually ended up in an orphanage, just didn't want anyone. So he would get in a fight with this nun, um, who was 19 years old and came from a similar background. Basically, same thing. Demons killed her family. She was basically treated badly by various people for ending up in orphanage, but she wanted to still heal people. So she basically that it's like they start fighting a lot, and it's pretty dark. And sister's name is Ryoko Kido, and so the basically the sister kind of treats him right. So they basically make up, and he helps her out, and then Yuda becomes an exorcist, and he's one of the few that in the group in the Concordia's Knights of Light that doesn't come from major exorcist families. So Sakaki, also not being from it, decides to offers to partner up with Yuda, and so they become close friends. Also Sakaki, I guess, meets Ryoko, and then basically there's a bunch of news, a bunch of dark, evil stuff has happened, and so Yuta his faith in humanity gets lower, and it reaches to a point where Ryoko is murdered by someone who tried to rob her, and so someone who was involved in the robbery turned murder is killed. Heavily implied that Yuta killed the murderer of Ryoko. The way it's heavily implied, and it's probably what happened. And so basically, see, Sakagi is told there's a meeting right after mention the guy got murdered. So it looks like it's gonna talk since Yuta never came back. It's implied that yeah, Yuta killed the guy and ran off. So yeah, then we go back to the present where Sakaki is fighting Yuta, and Yuta basically completes his transformation to a demon. And he like basically is like he wants to destroy the world because the sister is gone. And then basically so like Sakaki's weapon like tells her that basically he has to make tells Saki to make up his mind, and that his only chance of survival basically is to kill Yuta. So that's setting up like I guess a final bit of the fight between Saki and Yuta, to where I'm guessing basically Sakaki's probably gonna kill him. That's probably what's gonna happen. So yeah, really like this chapter. I'm looking forward to the next one. The Witch, chapter 39. So in this one, so basically Bakugami dies and Ichi acquires him, and like everyone's like ability to cry returns to the kingdom of Kagami, and then everyone like remembers like some of the sad moments that they've forgotten, always forgotten. So basically entire kingdom starts crying once. Now they don't seem to all go crazy. Seems to be more natural. That basically everyone cries. So like Richia and Gokuraku they make up, and so Ichi starts having some tears start rolling down Ichi's face down to out of one eye, at least in the. And so basically that ends this chapter. So Bakugami's dead. He's acquired by Ichi. Makes sense. And then yeah, that's the end of the arc. Looks like. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Like very simple, just so hey, he's dead. Like Bakugami's dead. We're gonna move on to the next arc. Yeah. So like yeah, this is a I thought this was a good chapter, good way to end the arc. And no one could cry, but now in the first time in years, the entire kingdom cries. So it's kind of like like with One Piece and Alabasta, how it had not rained for a while, but then right as the battle ends in One Piece, it starts raining like natural, not through like the powder or whatever, but natural rain is a good symbolization of like the dark period is over. So everyone crying in this chapter, I guess, is a good symbolization of like, hey, the evil rule of Bakugami's over. So it'd be interesting what happens. Does Gokuraku join Ichi as like as a traveling companion during his adventures? That would actually be interesting. But yeah, I thought this was a good chapter. Yeah, that was a good chapter. Good way to end the arc. I'm looking forward to see how the next one goes. Embers chapter 20 and full series. So this one, Kosei has beaten Koroyabashi. Kosei celebrating. they're going to the finals before nationals. Then Haitani has like a rematch with Oshimi, which he wins. Then, Oshimi asks Haitani if he's, enjoyed soccer. Haitani's like, yeah. So like then we see a 12-year time jump. So we see that Urimi and Yuga Takumi, they're like basically since I guess they discuss a match for a ticket to their fight or a ticket to nationals, and then like they start talking like basically they both like pro soccer players, both had good careers. Narima's like that his loss of height to knee helped him, I guess, learn how to deal with pressure and get better at soccer. Basically, neither of them had talked with Haitani. Then we see this other delinquent like named Fushimi like fighting, and then Haitami like I guess challenges to a soccer match to say, hey, if he wins, no, no more brawling. Basically, exactly what happened to him. So basically, it looks like he's more involved, I guess, in teaching now. So, yeah. So while it's interesting to have him have us do like what Oshimi do for someone else, what Oshimi did for him, I would like to see more of like the games. Like I think they were just trying to end it with the rematch between him and Oshimi, and then deal with the school's big rival, and they ended with that. I I would like to see more of like the rest of the tournament, like the final match, and then nationals. I mean, look at Haikyuu. Haikyuu, you had they beat their rivals and then went to nationals. Like part of it was like part of the game, like that game, like in Haikyuu, like they all beat their rivals. That is what like the team, like Karasuno beat its rivals in their little prefect area, and then went on the nationals, defeat their arch rival, Nekama, and then they, of course, they lost, and that's my only criticism about Haikyuu is how they lost at the end. But so we didn't even see nationals, so that's my biggest issue with how this ended. I would like to see is like this could have been the end of like an arc, and you can see like them coasting through the finals to make it to nationals. Then you have a nationals arc. Haitsune having to meet with people beyond his little area. I would like to see that, but no, they didn't even show nationals. So while what we did get was fine, I would have liked to see more. It underachieved. It ended way too early. And so I mean most part what we did get was fine, but I would have liked to see more. I hope that now I don't know if it's because this got canceled very early, and like they said, hey, you're gonna have to do a quick ending. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. I'm not an expert in how it happened. Things go. I mean, look, this isn't Blue Lock. I mean, Blue Lock is one of the greatest sports manga ever, if not the greatest. So I mean, look, not everything's gonna. But I would like to see more. Obviously, you don't need to make it as long as like something like Blue Lock or Haikyuu, but I would like to see more. This could have been a good series. Hey, the team may pass its biggest obstacle. Now they go nationals where they're facing their big test. You have Oshimi being like more of like a mentor figure now instead of like a rival. That could have been something to do, and that would have been fun to see. But they ended too early. Fine. Whatever. I mean, a lot of series get canceled very early at Shueisha. It's happened a lot. Some series get canceled very early. I mean, heck, Mama U getting canceled right before the final battle started. That was the one of the dumbest things. I'm like, I recall that being having some popularity, but this one, I don't know how much popularity this one had. I don't know if it was necessarily one of the biggest ones, but I think it if it was ended or had a rush ending like this because it was canceled, that's one thing, and that low readers, that is one thing that's going to happen because they're actually willing to cancel manga. They're actually willing to cancel stuff due to ratings. Manga anime, they're willing to cancel stuff due to low ratings. Hollywood's not as smart with that, so that's why they lose a lot of money. So fine, I can get that. That's why a lot of series have ended very quickly that were good. It happens. Yeah, overall, I think this was like a good series, but a lot of missed opportunities. Star Beethoven, Chapter 19. So in this one, Yaso plays the Moonlight Sonata. Basically, he just is in the zone. He plays it very well. Everyone congratulates him. So the two, women he's friends with, they congratulate him. Then Igal, congratulates she congratulates him. Says that basically she's glad to see that her grandfather's teaching brought something bring something out of Yaso. Then she goes to say she has to prepare for her own concerto, and she jokingly because of the two says that from the not get too carried away with I guess the two women surrounding him, basically like don't use his success to like get a bunch of women. Then Aigal talks with Sakami briefly. Sakami says, he doesn't like the fact that I guess they lost, but he realizes that I guess Yasuo is meant to be his lifelong rival, and he vows to defeat him. And so then, Lexi and Marcy, the two like people who were searching for Beethoven, they will lose Beethoven. So it's revealed that Beethoven climbed into the stage and congratulates Yasuo. Everyone's shocked by it, and so Beethoven says beginning of their musical revival. So that's like, I guess I don't know if next chapter is supposed to be the last one if they're gonna end it pretty soon. Basically, it looks like it's supposed to end with Beethoven and Yasuo starting their big collaboration. Kind of like I guess how Tenmaku Cinema ended, where you had the spirit working with the main character to make movies in the future. So it looks like this might be what this is gonna have a similar ending to that. And, that's a fine ending. I think it's a fine ending. If you're doing a short series, I think it's a fine way to end it if that's what they're going. I'd be fine with that. I would like them to explain more what the heck those two people are for, what Marcy and Lexi are for, but who does? But yeah, overall, I like this chapter. Looking forward to next week's. Go Go Loser Ranger Season 2, Episode 11. So this one, we have, so Yakushi turns into a giant kaiju called Death Machia or Death Mechia, whatever, based off, I guess, a monster from, I guess, the old, Dragon Keeper show. Surprisingly, still no Zords. That is like a weird thing. That is like one of the weirdest things that there's like no Zords, like in Power Rangers or Super Sentai. So, so we have green, blue, and pink keepers fight that. So red keeper uh comes across a Suzukiri with all the clones of her, and it's revealed that Suzukiri's uh is like the a dragon priestess, like the last of the Suzukiri clan, and her real first name is Muko, and then basically what happens is that it's yeah, so basically Suzukiri almost kills herself to stop Red Keeper from I guess using her as I guess potential test subject or something. Who knows? Red Keeper's like whatever. He kind of leaves, and then all the clones are released. So they're. I'm not gonna get. I do know about what's the deal with the Dragon Clan. I'm not gonna get into that. Has some effect. It does affect. So it based on dialogue between her and Red Keeper does affect their I guess the Dragon Keeper's powers. I'm not gonna get into that. And so during this, we also see Fighter D fight Sukubo, like Usukubo. So and Usukubo's like, hey, why are you? And it's revealed that her mother was a monster, was a boss monster. That Yakushi fell in love with a boss monster and had a kid. Now, and Hisui sees a picture of Yakushi with a boss monster, which viewers know is Usukubo's mother, and she notices that it's not a monster from the 12. So it's like a mysterious 13th monster. And yeah. So basically and then Usukubo gets a divine artifact and then Izume shoots Fighter D. Basically, recognize she sees the like the D initial on like his shoulder, basically. So she was told by another member, like another ranger, that the fighter who I guess stabbed Blue Keeper, who she blames for the Blue Keeper's death, is a fighter with the initial D on his shoulder. So she blames Fire D for Blue Keeper's death, and D is like that it was Patrola that did it. Now, Izumi doesn't, and so she tries to get the divine artifact, and you have D like he transforms into like Usukubo in order to like I guess confuse Izumi. And, while they're also chasing each other, while the two Usukubos are chasing her, fighting over the divine artifact. Izumi's like, look, I don't care who's the real one. She's like, I'll kill you both. Basically, she's willing to kill them both. You know. Then Izumi gets the divine artifact and eats it. And yeah, it really screws her up. It like her arm is like basically she almost like looks like a Trogdor arm. Oh, like big beefy arm. The rest of her is small. So it's like, okay, is she turning to Trogdor now or something? Burninating the countryside, burninating the people. Yeah, yeah, no. So like, so Fire D is injured, gets away. He comes across Hisui, who, based on the flashbacks, briefly, she knows that Fighter D, that the Sakurama that is in Green Squadron, she knows that that's Fighter D. She was able to figure it out. So she told Fighter D that she did not remember really anything from that's Magadia's school dimension, but she was lying because D thought that only he and Chidori remembered anything, and the detective remembered stuff, but so because he was concerned about Hisui knowing because she saw him transform, so it's revealed that she knew, and that and so Hisui like tells D while he's in his monster, hey, monsters killed my parents. I never wanted to understand monsters, but I do want to understand you. And she asks, who you want to fight? D's like, I want to fight Death Mechia. And she's like, okay, let's do it. So whether or not Hisui like D knows that Hisui knows, like he kind of like he kind of don't care, but like basically this could be a interesting this could be an interesting episode. So then what's gonna like it's gonna be interesting what happens in the next episode. But yeah, dude, Izame is really messed up. And I know a little bit about what happens. And so Eigen seems to have learned the truth of the based on his dialogue seems to have learned the truth of the monsters of what's actually going on. And then but yeah, so I guess because he was up there with like the fighters, I guess he learned what's actually going on. He's like, what? Yeah. And so, yeah, it's interesting. So Yakushi's this was a good episode. Yakushi's reason for creating Death Mecha is like because I guess he was the final boss character in one I guess episode of the old like Dragon Keeper show. and it portrays like an older like anime series. Like they it was like they would use someone of like an older style for that, which I kind of liked. And then, but yeah, so Suzukiri, that stuff's gonna be interesting. Like, okay, so I guess like so it was her clan. So I guess the Dragon Keepers know that her clan is a Dragon Priest. So that's they probably knew that she was working against them. They like they probably knew it. Like and so Uskuo being a half monster, half human. That's now if I recall, monsters could transform. The boss monsters could transform the people they killed. So if that boss monster he'll like killed a woman, I could see it being possible that the monster just transformed to a victim and did the deed with Yakushi. Because through it, like in the monster form, yeah, it'd be weird how Yakushi could survive that. But otherwise, yeah, I thought it was a good episode. Looking forward to next week's. Nice Prison, Chapter 9. So in this one, we have Tara, uh, Mitsuboshi, and Kasan. They start fighting Professor Prisoner, who's trying to like brainwash everyone. And then, so Kasan, who's like his timer goes off, and he basically tries to sacrifice his hope to defeat Professor Prisoner. And then Romance Clown's able to escape. And he's like immediately brainwashed. And then like Mitsubishi is able to defeat Professor Prisoner. Yeah, and so basically he tries to get through the Professor saying that hey, Ogi Kubo, the real one, is his home. And he says that Nobanashi Prison is his home. And he tries to get through saying how they both care about their homes. And that's how it ends. So we don't know how Professor Prisoner is going to react to that, but odds are he may like decide to side with Mitsubishi. Who knows? But yeah, I thought it was an interesting chapter. Good, short chapter. I thought it was a good one. Interested seeing what happens next week with you know what does Professor Prisoner do? Does he help out? So yeah, I thought it was a good chapter. Looking forward to next week. Odor of the Flame, Chapter 7. So in this one, Odor and Edupurko like fight, that squadron of, Ice Kingdom soldiers. So, basically, the captain like, kills some of his own people there in the battle. And basically, Odor and Edupurko are they just overpower, the team. They kill everyone. They kill all them, save the villagers, and like basically they like basically they save the village thanks them. One of the guys calls it the one who was about to go attack another village to save his own village calls the two of them heroes. And then yeah, and then like, basically Edward like, look, we're not heroes, we still have a lot to learn. And they so that this was Edward says this was like a small group, so there's probably a bigger squadron elsewhere that's more powerful. Others like we gotta get stronger then. And yeah, and so it's funny how Edward calls like the captain basically an idiot, a retard, because how he like kills his own squad mates, how he's like tactically an idiot. So that bit was funny, and how she like is able to use the ice to maneuver, get terrain advantage. Yeah, I thought it was cool. Like cool, the visuals were cool, the magic, the fighting. I thought this was pretty good. So really like this chapter. Look forward to the next one. Harukaze Mound, Chapter 2. So in this one, um, Nagiharu, like having heard, the stuff from Ibuki recruiting him. After thinking about it, he tells like Aokaze that, look, even if they're not teammates, they could still keep the promise of pitch to Koshin. So Aokaze goes to Hojitsu while Nagiharu goes to the he goes to the new team, at you know Hinazakura. You know, so basically, Ibuki takes Nagiharu to meet the teammates. So you have, basically, so then some of the new teammates include Yuma Hodaka, um, Maisuke Iroshibara, and um, and then this other guy with glass, the stereotypical, guy, arrogant guy who pushes up his glasses that occurs in like every manga and anime, with a guy basically everyone would. So this guy named Wakamori, and so he calls Nagiharu a discount Kusumi, and he's like, "Hey, we thought you were going to get Ayokaze. What the heck are you doing?" So then Ibuki's like, "All right, you want to try it? How about you try batting against him?" And so yeah, then they reveal his full name, Kippei Wakamori, and so basically, so what Ibuki tells Nagiharu is that the worst pitch a batter doesn't like to face is a pitch they're not used to or haven't seen before. And like basically, so Nagiharu, he does the underhanded, you know, left hand throw, and then and since that's such a rare pitch, and that he's changed his form recently, that could be in that's gonna be there. But Wakamori thinks that it's he's winging it, so it won't work. So Nagaharu does a pitch, and basically he and Ibuki have been, I guess, preparing for a while to prepare for the next spring. And so Nagaharu does the pitch, and he throws a strike. And then yeah, and then basically everyone's shocked at that, and then they're like, all right, the rest of the at bats going. So yeah, so basically it looks like next chapter is gonna finish out the at bat. So yeah, I really like this chapter. Thought it was cool seeing all the stuff with so meeting the rest Nagaharu, meeting the rest of the team. Now, well, not the rest of the team. There's only three other members. There's still other people because you need 9 people on the field. Now I don't know what positions those three are. So we know Ibuki's a catcher, Nagaharu's the pitcher. Now, I'm assuming there's going to be other pitchers because you have your starter, you have multiple starters, you have your backups, like your relievers, and and then so it looks like those other three are going to be, I guess they're like position players most likely if they're being shown, unless one of them's a reliever. You could have a closer. You need a really good closer. Just ask the Yankees with Mariano Rivera back in the day. And yeah, so I'm wondering so those three's positions haven't been revealed yet. And so looks like for the starting lineup, looks like there's at least 4 left. So amongst the three, assuming all 5 of these characters would be starting the field at the same time, so basically the other 3 are all position players. So of course you have your first baseman, second baseman, shortstop, third baseman, left fielder, center fielder, right fielder. So who knows what the other who knows what the other 3 are. I could see the glasses guy being a first baseman just because if you're a fielder, if you're wearing glasses, you don't necessarily want to do a lot of movement unless you wear like some special goggles like some basketball players have. So I can imagine he's a first baseman just because so he doesn't risk breaking his glasses since first baseman doesn't require a lot of movement. That is why a lot of slow players play first base. I mean, that is a fact. That is why there's a lot of first basemen who are pretty slow because first baseman does not require a lot of movement. So they don't need a lot of speed compared to like some of the other positions. So yeah, I think he's a first baseman. The other two, hmm, I don't know. Like it you could I could see them being second and short because may have them right next to each other as like, the two guys covering second. Either way, yeah, I thought this was a good chapter. Looking forward to next week's. Spy Family, chapter 118. So in this one, Hemlock and your rendezvous with McMahon. And then they basically kill all the poachers, and Hemlock is still pondering like him losing to Yor, trying to figure out why his philosophy, why he failed to beat Yor. And Yor, since McMahon notices the bruises on Hemlock, asks what happened. Yor says that they had a little scuffle. You know, and then basically, so the three of them kill all the poachers. You know, basically they bury their weapons and supplies in order to get a disposal team to get them there. Then McMahon and Yor drive back while Hemlock, walks back, and Hemlock's trying to ponder everything. How like he wants to figure out how to get stronger, where like solitude or having a family can like which one makes him stronger. And Yor asks McMahon about it, and McMahon says it depends on the individual. Some people get stronger with solitude, some people get stronger by having something to protect. And then Yor asks McMahon about his wife, and McMahon says his situation is different because he was married before he joined the Garden. And how they're still together, well, basically she doesn't know what he does, and he doesn't know if she knew would she stay with him. But he hopes that she would, and that's why she's still with him. He's still with her just by due to that hope. And I guess he wants to protect her. And the case of Yor, of course, we know hers is like we know yours and Lloyd's is like a sham marriage. Everyone at the Garden knows. McMahon says, that if yours having second thoughts, she should end it so that no one gets hurt if she's not committed. Then Yor returns home, and then I guess yours. I think so. Anya doesn't notice anything. Then yours and so basically Lloyd, based on Anya's thoughts, is doing a mission report for something. So Yor doesn't want to tell Lloyd about his job, about her job, and but she knocks on Lloyd's door saying she can't. Basically, she can't bear it any longer now. And so she says hello. So Lloyd, I guess, is going to have to stop doing the mission report. Now, how will this lead to? So, for what I'm saying, there's some theories whether or not it's a potential talk of divorce, whether or not it's them getting closer and acting more intimate, like more like an actual couple, or it'll just lead to nothing, a complete misunderstanding, like a lot of their big talks have. Because the thing is, she's not drunk this time, so that is different. Because a lot of time, Yor gets drunk during some various emotional conversations about their marriage, which has led to humorous results. And she forgets a lot of it because she drinks way too much. She can't hold her liquor, so she's sober. That is what's different here. So other times, well, I mean, Code White, which I don't know if that's canon per se. You know, like Lloyd tries to get closer and Yor freaks out and kicks him out of the Ferris wheel, which was so funny. But yeah, so yeah, this key either, and since Lloyd's doing the mission report, what's going to happen is, okay, Lloyd's going to have to stop doing the mission report, put it away. Now it's possible he could forget something. And now one theory is that when Lloyd opens the door, Yor might kiss him in the next chapter as they start, like, so that they can act more like a couple. And, that's probably going to throw Lloyd for a loop. I mean, look, it's probably Lloyd's probably done a lot of things for for his missions. He's done a lot, like, and most of it's planned. I'm sure a lot of it was planned stuff. So, but when this would be unplanned, so it might throw him for a loop. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm sure. Oh, Frankie's gonna get if he talks to Frankie about it. I'm sure Frankie will get a few laughs out of it. It was like, dude, I can see Frankie. He's like, wait, you're worried about it? You're worried about? I'm like, dude, you're in the zone. But yeah, I'm sure it could be. Who knows? There could be some. It's gonna be an interesting chapter. Next one. So yeah, I like this chapter. Looking forward to next week's Implosion, the Titanic sub disaster. So this was a documentary on Discovery that premiered May 28th. I never even heard about it until recently, around when like I first heard about the Netflix one. So yeah, thought like the Netflix one. So I was like, okay, I'll watch this one too since it's on Max. So I watched it on Max. And while the Netflix one covers more of like the engineering behind the sub, it does get into some of the issues with Stockton Rush, of course. This one is more just almost exclusively focused on Stockton Rush. It gets into like, the carbon fiber and all the issues with that. The Expedition Discovery, you know, was gonna do an episode about the Ocean Gate, but when I guess the guy from it saw the issues, they decided not the show decided not to air it. Even though it was a very expensive, a lot of money they spent in order to do some of the filming. Basically, the people involved Expedition Discovery were like, yeah, we can't do this. Like something's going to go bad. Because I mean, look, carbon fiber, it's not strong. Like now, from an engineering perspective, here's what I would say. Why is it exclusively carbon fiber? I mean, yes, it doesn't corrode because various metals are going to corrode in water because it's a lot of moisture. And if that's your concern and you want to use carbon fiber partly because of that, that's one thing. But the way to do that would be have your main shell and stuff be metal, and maybe if you're gonna use carbon fiber, use it as like a coating to help protect it from corrosion. That would be the better way to do it. Like from an engineering standpoint, just protect it with protect some of the metal. That's the metal is like the main taking most of the force to protect the submarine from implosion. All the critical components. While a carbon fiber is just there to basically it's just a corrosion cover. That's all it is. It's not like there for taking a lot of loads, like forces from like the pressure from the ocean. That would be the better way to do it. But Stockton Rush wanted to just do all carbon fiber. We all know how that resulted, and also some of the people so I think it was like so you had the father and son who were on the sub when it imploded. So the man's wife was, I think she was one of the ones interviewed, and some of the former workers. And this shows a lot. This shows a lot more of like the hearings. So you had a lot of hearings of some of the people involved, how like they were like when they brought concerns, they were either let go or forced to bend the knee to Stockton Rush because Stockton, I guess, was he may have had a lot of creditors. He may have was hubris, arrogance. Like he should have backed out. Like he should have backed out of the project. Like this guy, like, he came from old money. His wife came from old money, and his wife's family, I guess it was like her grandparents were some of the owners of Macy's and died on the original Titanic. So yeah, and so it seems like so the so like one of the, I guess the engineers was like a that was interviewing this one was like a fresh college graduate asked to basically help design this very advanced carbon fiber submarine that's very life threatening. I'm like, I mean, look, here's the facts. That is way too much for a person right for most people who are right out of college. That is way too much. That is, doesn't matter how good like your college is. That is way too much to put on someone fresh out of college. Maybe like give them like something to practice with, to give them to learn more about the job. But the primary designer should be like more experienced people. And for what I've seen about it, it seemed like a lot of the issues was from like Rush not having experienced people. Then like there was a whole like one of the people involved with it, I guess, who had experience with ROVs, who I can't remember what she said. I guess in her field, like in whatever specific job she had, I guess there weren't a lot of women in her field, and I guess she's like, yeah, I wanted to stay like do a lot in order to prove myself. I was like, I don't care. Were you good at the job? That's me. For me, I'd be like, are you good at the job? If you can do your job, great. I don't care. Like, I don't care about any other like this is very dangerous stuff. Very advanced, very dangerous stuff. All I care about for me, all I care about is can you do your job? I don't care about anything else. And the outside stuff should not be brought in the workplace. Like if people struggle with that, look, sometimes we have days off. If you need to take it, someone needs to take a day off, PTO, comp time, some special like whatever in order to there like sometimes some people need to take some time off to deal with stuff like outside stuff. That's fine. Just don't let outside non-work stuff affect how you work. Like, so yeah, I didn't like the fact the lady mentioned how she was like, "There's not a lot of women in my field. I wanted to had to prove myself every day to be taken seriously." I'm like, I didn't like that. I didn't like that being mentioned. I'm like, but we do know one of the issues with Stockton Rush is that he didn't want to hire experienced people, like especially with the pilots. So like in the Netflix one, you had that one young lady who was I guess asked to be a pilot, who basically was not I guess didn't have a lot of experience. Was there because like basically Stockton wanted a young woman to I guess be the face of I guess of the sub, while you know didn't want the old men to like who are like military experience, probably dealt with more advanced submarines than this thing. So we got like that was such a dumb thing. And using the video game now, I don't think either documentary went into like the video game controller thing, regards to like using video game controllers to pilot the sub. I don't know. I don't know the feasibility of that, whether or not that's something that could work. If that is something that could work as a way to help simplify controls and be allow the sub to still be driven, piloted in a safe manner, I could see that working. But if it can be done in a safe manner, if it can't be done in a safe manner, no, screw that. Same with the carbon fiber. If there was a safe way to do carbon fiber for this, I would say yeah, I could see it being a cheap option. But obviously, at least the way Stockton used it, it was not a safe way. And with the amount of pressure, you need some stronger material. So like they should have at least had a layer of like other stronger material that can handle it, like some type of metal, like some type of steel, some type of titanium, whatever, you know, and maybe just use the carbon fiber as corrosion protection or as a way to help alleviate some of the load, but not as the primary load carrier, or else because the carbon fiber being the primary load carrier is what ended up causing the implosion. And I guess all the engineering behind and all the like a bunch of people were telling Rush to not do this. He did it. He paid the price. Unfortunately, he took 4 people. Unfortunately, 4 people also paid the price. Rush was asking for it. The other 4 did not. Like, this was such a dumb, like, now as far as documentary, this was a very good documentary. I think the Netflix one is better, just because it goes more into all the engineering. This goes more into all of like the hearings, and it's more almost exclusively focused on the issues with Rush. Now, the Netflix one does get into issues with Rush because, like, a lot of engineering issues were Rush's fault. But this one doesn't get into as much about the engineering. It's more about like the actual issues with the management of the company and like the actual legal issues. Like, and yeah, look, I don't understand the whole lots of like the regulations. I will not claim to understand regulations behind that, but seems that there was a lot of issues that could have been done. Like, which this also leads me to question whether any OSHA violations. I don't know. I have no idea. I will not claim to be an expert on the legal stuff with all this, but it seems like this this whole disaster is just a bunch of stupidity. Like everything I heard about, like, 'cause I remember when this happened. I remember hearing about it. I remember the memes. I remember all the news articles. How like basically Rush looked like a freaking retard when everything was all said and done. Like he is to blame for what happened, and it seems like there was a lot more with these 2 documentaries. I mean, I didn't realize there were so many warning signs of what was gonna. Like I was like, wait, there was warning signs of something going wrong. I guess like years before the incident. Yeah. Like I was like, man, like that is just bad. What happened? It's bad. What happened? Sucks. I really hope everyone involved finds peace. I really do. And like, you know, a lot of the people who like, testified, they seem to all be honest about it. They said, yeah, we thought it was a bad idea. We there were warnings. We gave our warnings. A lot of us didn't want to do it, and sometimes there was work reasons we couldn't say as much. It's the way the company was managed. Yeah, so it seems like Rush wanted to be surrounded by a bunch of yes men, and if you weren't the yes man, you either shut up or got fired. That seems to be how it was, and that you know led to this. But as for documentary, I thought this was very good. I thought it was a very good documentary, and yeah, I recommend go watch it on Max if you're interested in this story or just in documentaries in general. Well, and that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you can put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.